dorks, I've had enough! Hello, I'm Tony. That's Pete, Scott, Pat, and Brian. And together we are Imminent Sonic Destruction. Welcome to hell. The idea behind Floodgate is basically after, some shit happens to you, life kind of punches you in the gut. And for, like any kind of artist, after some sort of big life event, you tend to kind of, create. Whether it's therapeutic or cathartic or whatever. I find, especially me personally, like it's time to just start writing. Whether you're just writing some lyrics down that don't have any music, or you just play and start writing. It's like a floodgate of creativity. And so that's the idea behind it, and these guys all bought into it. Nick Hagen, the guy that recorded it and mixed it, he had a blast, I'm sure.
We like bands that have these huge multi-part harmonies and sound really thick and lush. So we always knew how we wanted it to sound, and we never quite got there on any of the previous albums. I was reading a book about, it was Ted Templeman's book, where he was talking about recording the Doobie Brothers back in the 70s and how he had different guys in the band that could sing, and he wanted to have them all sing all the parts. So instead of just like, you have this harmony, you have this harmony, everybody does everybody's part, and he blends them all together. But I was like, well, that's a pretty good sound. So we wanted to give it a shot, so we had Nick record 1 million tracks of vocals.
It's so many tracks, dude.
And all of us singing, and I think it came out pretty good. I think this is the closest to what we had in our heads.
From the songwriting standpoint, a handful of these songs were songs that I started writing that I didn't even intend to be, played by this band. I wrote, I'm like, this would be for the solo album, I finally brought it to these guys 2 years ago, not even, and they were down to do them. So they do sound a little bit different compared to our other albums,
It was a good collaborative effort, so it gives a lot of variety to how the songs sound. I mean, it goes from maybe our heaviest stuff to probably maybe our lightest stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because we actually were thinking like, we are going to do a vinyl. We are going to do vinyl eventually, hopefully, whatever. But like we were thinking, we got to get this thing under 42 minutes so we can put out a vinyl. And so we recorded all the songs because we were like, we'll just figure it out later. And of course, we're listening to the songs. Yep, can't cut that one. Can't cut that one. But yeah, so it ended up being a situation where we just, have an hour-long album and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that when we first started talking about this record was we were going to go back to a formula that we had tried only once before, which was to really have everybody be involved in the writing. For every song, we're just going to sit down and we're going to jam. We're going to put ideas together. We're going to do all of this. And then the band kind of, we just inevitably kind of phased back into like, well, do you remember when we wrote that song as a band? It was like off the first album and it took like forever. And I'm like, we're going to do a whole album of this and it's going to be released somewhere around 2030. And Tony was like, well, wait, I've got some songs and they'll work. And but it's going to be a lot of, it's still going to take a lot of input. And then Pete came up with a song, and again, this is really, it kind of reminds me of album number 1, where Tony had a lot of material, and there was like a song that really was not solely Tony, and it's nice because I think it just goes.
It breaks it up.
Mm-hmm. We are capable. It's just that we lack a little bit of focus when it comes to putting all of our ideas together, and then we end up with like a 45-minute idea.
Yeah. So like what he's talking about.
And that's one song.
What he's talking about is on our first album, we wrote a song called "Breaking Through," and it's like a 13-minute long song, and it was in our set for a long time, for a good reason. It's fun to play. It represents us all really well. And it literally took us like 8 months to write. Back in the day, we were renting a rehearsal space, and we would just get together and jam it and record it. Brian would send us all the files, like here's what we got. We would build on it, but it took so long to do. We attempted to do that for this album, but it just kind of.
There was one section in that song where literally pulling up to the band practice room, I said, guys, listen to this. I got the songs on the stereo in my truck. We're going to play this part, right? Okay.
Yeah, fast
Then we're
forward.
gonna play that.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna do this after it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go try that.
Yeah.
We go inside, we lay it down, and about an hour later, we get it where it feels like it was meant to be that way. It's buttery smooth. We're ripping through it, and we're all going, dude, yeah. And we all just look at each other.
That was actually my.
Let's never do this again.
No, we literally just thought if we're going to try to do this for a whole album,
Yeah.
it's going to take like forever. We're kind of old school. We like to put out an album, a good full album. I'm old.
Emphasis on old.
They're school. I'm old. I'm the old part of old school.
We're creating something from the front to the back that is supposed to be a full album, and you should listen to it all.
And that's
But
what
we didn't mean in terms of releasing
Yeah.
it as a...
Right.
But and that's what we all like. You know what I mean? So it's like if we're not doing what we like,
Yeah.
if we don't like it first, then we don't care
Yeah.
to put it out, right? So we all like albums that are like, I want to sit down and just
Listen to the whole thing.
sit down with headphones and like
Yeah.
listen to this album.
Yeah.
And we love doing that, so we want to make something that's what it is. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, then go listen to Taylor
But,
Swift.
I mean,
The album is kind of laid out, sort of, in a way where the older songs that I talked about earlier, that I wrote as intending to be for, a solo thing, those are grouped together, and then the newer ones are kind of grouped together, except the last song, and so that's why it's a. They all kind of came quickly like that, like the Floodgate, creativity wise. And then, we mixed in, like we said, Pete kind of wrote a song, so we mixed that in there too. And it kind of, it fits. It fits with the idea of the Floodgate, you know what I mean? Like we were in that mode of creating, and then he's like, I got this thing. And I was like, well, what about this? And then before you know it, he's got probably the hookiest chorus on the album too, so it really worked out.
And I kind of took what Tony was already writing about, and I thought, oh, okay, write some, what kind of stuff do I have like that to go through? And I came up with some lyrics that kind of, they weren't about the same kind of thing, but it was the same kind of idea of going through a catharsis.
And you're just getting it out.
Yeah, exactly. It works. It fits, yeah.
If anything, the only concept of the album is that the album's bookended with a part 1 and a part 2.
yeah. That's
Because
what
we're
I was
strong.
So that's the concept in the album, along with all the other material and all the other ideas and themes. So the part 1, part 2 thing is going to be fun, and eventually, someday down the line, we'll play them back to back.
My dad would always say, he died in 2020, and he would always say, nobody gets out of this alive. There's a Latin phrase, memento mori, which means remember that you must die. That was what it was reminding him of. Remember your death. So basically telling you to live the right way, because you're going to die, and once you do, how are you going to be remembered? How are you going to live? So it's that was kind of the message of that one. It's just like live like it's your last day, and
And
don't waste any time.
I legit think of his dad every time we play it. So
Yeah, that's cool.
My bass solo is all about never go ass to mouth.
Wow.
you can rely on Ryan to be wildly inappropriate at any time.
Especially with bass solos.
For reference, people, there's no bass solo in this song.
Note to producer Newstead.
His son Dominic plays in the band Catharsis. He's also a drummer, but he's also able to play guitar and bass and sing like really well. So the joke is that Dominic can replace any of us at any time,
Except me.
except for
Pete. He's the only one with job security.
You'll probably
By
hear
my
us
son.
reference like, well, Dominic can do it.
Yeah. Like if anything should befall any one of us on any night except Pete, he could legitimately
He has
sit.
helped me out, so.
So what I'm hearing from this is you guys are utilizing child labor.
Yeah,
Legally.
we pay him in big.
Dominic's a bit underhanded at it. Like for the other day, he showed up on my fucking day job. And he was dressed just like I do.
Yeah, badly.
Sitting at my desk. Whoa.
Loafers, everything. Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
The whole thing.
This is the greatest staged intervention I have ever been part of, and I gotta tell you guys, it's so awesome that you guys all joined.
Do you see what I
together.
mean? Like we f around a lot.
This is just terrible.
This is what band practices are like too.
The only thing keeping us from being the greatest band in the world
It's our sense of
is our inability to be the greatest band in the world.
Talent.
Talent has always been that's
a stumbling block.
That's a close number 2. Yeah.
We've got a great lengths to avoid success.
Sorry, Island Records.
Squat 'em like
We're
a
out.
man.
Yeah, you didn't know.
So
I
much
told
18
Island
years.
Records to f off.
Yeah, you should.
Do you guys have a release date for this yet?
April 25th.
April 25th.
This one's being released independently through our label called FC Records. The first song that's going to be out is Memento Mori. We're working on a video for that right now. And then we'll do the song No One and probably The Game, I'm thinking. Yeah. And then the album will come out. We've been lucky to work with Freeman pretty much our whole career. We got a deal set up with him, and the guy who kind of manages us, Kagi is his name, and he's awesome. I mean, really, without him, we probably wouldn't have had some of the opportunities that we've had in the past. You know, touring with Fates Warning, touring with Pain of Salvation, and Circus Maximus, and all those guys, and even doing our own kind of co-headlining tour with another band called Eden Song. And I mean, without Freeman being in our corner, you know, I don't know if those things happen.
Don, I mean, we've been together almost 18 years, so if we'd had a baby when we got together, we wouldn't have to pay child support anymore.
We want everybody to be a little bit more aware of, you know, just who we are. You know, we've been around a long time. Like we said, we're almost 20 years in, and I think that we're tired of being this relatively unknown band from Detroit. We want to be a well-known band from Detroit. Just being more out there.
With being in a band of 17, 18 years, or however long it's been for us, you start to think, you know, why are we still doing this? You know, we're old, we have families, like, this is ridiculous, you know. We know people much younger than us that give up on it, and we're not. And, you know, the thing, too, is, like, it doesn't matter that we're old. If we're dead, it matters. If the songs are good and they hit right to the right person, you never know what can happen. We're kind of working behind the scenes to maybe make some things happen that are probably ridiculous. Like, we're literally campaigning for radio play, both college and commercial. Like, we put together a big ass list of program directors, and we're gonna be hitting them up, and you never know. There's no reason to quit, you know. If anything, there's more reason to try harder.
The only thing that I have ever been upset about with my favorite bands as they get older is when they're simply unable to play the songs. Until we're incapable of playing this stuff, I don't see any reason to stop anything. I'm the oldest guy in the band, and I can play all of this stuff, even the stuff that we recorded on day one. Takes me a little longer to get the engine to that point, but I can still play all of it.
And
There's
you're still
no
coming up with
excuse.
more difficult stuff the further we go down.
That's
it's
his
getting
fault.
harder, and you're still doing it.
I blame him for that. We've known so many bands that, you know, you look at them and you go see them live and you're like, God, I mean, they're good. They're really good. But they're getting gigs that you're like, how? You know? How did you get this gig?
They get signed.
Yeah.
They
blows
tour
your
the
mind.
world.
Not that they're bad bands,
Yeah,
but you just think, how did you do this?
Right.
And what was yours? And they were like, we hustled
Yep.
our asses up. And you didn't. You can act like you're better than us, but we're on that stage, or we're on that tour, and you're not. The only difference is hustle.
I almost said something shitty about another band.
No one did.
I was totally worried about that.
I didn't do it, though.
I get my head up.
I know. I see you.
Whenever you have a band, I don't care what kind of stage show you put on. I don't care how many times you throw a drumstick in the air. If I turn around and I'm listening to your music, and the music is being played perfectly, I don't care what you're doing on stage. That's the most important thing to me, is that you are performing that music the way it needs to be performed. Music first. Then if I turn around and you guys are just going berserk Looney Tunes, that's icing on the cake.
If you're a young musician and you want to get in the game and you want to get good at it, don't just get good at your instrument. Get good at all aspects of making music. If you're great at guitar, start learning how to record the guitar. If you're great at drums, start learning how to get good mics in good positions to get a good sounding drum recording. Learn the craft of recording your music as well as performing your music. There's so much old school technology that made it difficult back in the day. You can do everything digitally now, and there's so much free software out there so many computers can do the work. You don't need a massively expensive rig to do home recording. You can do it on the cheap if you learn it. Start studying it. Start getting manuals and instruction booklets. Start watching YouTube videos of other people recording their stuff, and you can get good at it. And then you can get better, and then when you find bandmates, start teaching them how to do it so that they can get good.
You're talking with Brian.
Like
I mean, you
everybody,
could have your own podcast.
I'm waiting for him to do like a Zoolander and like you help other people do things really good.
like this band wanted to get into using in-ear monitors very early. We had no idea how to do it, how it's going to work, what it's going to cost, and we built on that a little bit at a time, Hey guys, I found that this technology now exists. We could use that. Then we got into, hey, we've got so many cables and so much spaghetti on stage, it's making it difficult. Wait a minute, I found ways to make that simpler. Here's how we can make it easier to set up and tear down. And as we built this band, all the gear that we use is so simplified, cleaned up, and efficient that it helps everybody perform without technical glitches, without amps dying on stage. It's been a long, long time since we've had a bad show because we got very professional about our gear, how we use it, and what we take on stage.
So our advice is you get a Brian to do it.
Get a Brian.
Yeah.
And I will say, on the
I'm
other
for
side of
hire.
that,
Yes, he does it all.
on the other side of that, we'll kind of go into what we were talking about before. If you're a kid and you just have some talent and you really write a good song, you know, that can be enough to get going with everything. You know, the rest of it can come later, but sometimes, you know, a good song doesn't have to have all the tech wizardry, you know, it can just be a good song.
And if you don't have a way to write it, if you don't know how to read music and you don't know how to write it down, you better freaking know how to record it.
Yeah,
You know?
the internet is a wonderful tool if you use it well. And if you can't figure it out still,
Also,
have a friend come over and show you. Find another guy in the industry or you know, somebody
friends.
else in another band. Hey, how do you guys do this? Come on over, I'll show you. Learn. Never stop learning about the craft.